Broadcasting from the Cass Corridor in Detroit, this is The Metro. I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Robin Vincent. Today on the program, Detroit Democratic State Representative Donovan McKinney is challenging Sri Thanedar for his seat in Congress. He'll tell us why.
Plus, Congresswoman Debbie Dingell is among the federal lawmakers pushing for information about an apparent security breach at the hands of DOJ.
And over 200 immigrants have recently been detained at the Detroit-Canada border after making a wrong turn. Advocates say the border isn't equipped for this kind of detention.
But first, what was it like for a teenager in 2004? Well, back then, teens were living through just as many world issues as we're living through today. During 2004, a major war filled the headlines. George W. Bush was elected to his second term. So how did the teens cope? 2004 was also the year Teen Hype was founded in Detroit. And the organization is a youth development program that helps teenagers and young people build healthy habits to chart a better future. The ultimate goal was to give young people the respect they deserve while uplifting them to be the people who thrive in this world. Fast forward 21 years later, and being a teen today, it's a little different. Information is traveling at us at all speeds from different angles, and for most adults, it's hard to keep it all straight. So what the heck are young people going through right now, and how are they coping with what's happening in our world today? Ambra Redrick is the co-founder and CEO of Teen Hype. She is also a recent recipient of the 2025 Skillman Visionary Award, which is an award program that recognizes and supports visionary leaders in education. She's educated with a master's and bachelor's degree in social work from Wayne State University, and Ambra understands both clinically and holistically what it takes to care for our young people. She joins us now in studio to discuss Teen Hype's work in the community. Ambra, welcome to the Metro.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Of course. And we talked a little bit earlier. We talked about, what part you grew up. We're both West Siders.
Yes.
West Siders. So shout out there. I love that so much. And I love when I have Detroiters staying home and working from home. So you, in 2004, with your co-founder, decided to open up a community organization or start a community organization for young people. What can you say about the work that you all have been able to accomplish in that 21 years since you celebrated your birthday yesterday?
It has been really a privilege to work beside young people over the course of 21 years, but it feels oftentimes like we are in a movie and you don't on a roller coaster, but you haven't been on this roller coaster before, so you don't necessarily know what's coming up. And so we didn't know we were creating a nonprofit.
Wow.
We were actually born out of a hospital. And so we spent, almost a decade just really doing the work and working alongside young people with no desire and no thought about a nonprofit organization. We just wanted to support young people and give them voice and help them to navigate a path where they could determine what they want to do with their future.
Now, 2004 just happens to be a critical time where we're starting to see the rise of technology, handheld technology, in the way that we see it in a big way today. Just Nokia phones. We had some of our little stuff like, we had little phones that we were able to start to communicate with one another away from home in a big way. So can we just talk a little bit about 2004 and how you all, what were some of your initial approaches when you were trying to talk to the young people and the teens? What were some of the reasons that you all decided that this is something that needs to be in place and in space here?
Well, back in 2004, we had alarming teen pregnancy rates. And we had, there used to be this thing called a landline. And we actually had a hotline where we hired young people to answer the phone and to help other young people learn about their bodies. They could just call and ask any kind of questions they wanted. And that was really the beginning of helping young people to see themselves as leaders and to see the responsibility that they hold in the community among themselves and with their peers.
I love that, because one of my questions too was about Teen Hype and its goal into turning young people, teenagers, into peers for their friends and the people who are sitting with them in class. So can you talk a little bit about how you all have been able to grasp a hold of young people and tell them and show them that they are leaders in their community?
So I think what's really, really beautiful, and almost organic, is that when young people find Teen Hype, and they find it all kind of ways. We service young people in schools, we service kids and out of school time. A lot of young people find us on stage when they come and view a theater performance. But what happens in Teen Hype is that in some kind of almost magical way, young people slowly discover who they are. So they are coming, if you remember what it was like to be a teenager, or even facial expression says it all. In those middle school years, and what it was like to just kind of stumble your way through, and then for someone to see you and to just say, like, wherever, let's try it. Let's try something new and see where we go. And they slowly blossom, and we look up, and it's just really like, I don't know. I don't even have words for it. It's profound to see what they turn into.
Especially with 21 years of work, you've been able to see so many young people grow up and right before your eyes, and so many young people and even their families blossom with them. Can we talk about that holistic approach and how you're interacting with kids and their families as well, and how you're bringing in that whole unit? Yeah. So I think that when we have all of the resources that we need, what we know is that young people need something that feels very holistic. You know, it's not a one-dimensional thing. So they need academic support. They need career exposure. They need opportunities to learn about their body. They need support around mental health. They need all of those things. And then parents need help. Raising a teenager is not an easy thing. And at some point, young people don't like their parents, and their parents don't like them. And they both need to know it's okay. And they need permission to pull up at the building and to get out without words. And so it's a space for that too. And then oftentimes we're spending time with parents and helping them to find the words to communicate and to share their values with their young people in a way that makes them feel more empowered. And hopefully helps them to feel more confident in being a parent. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that Robin and I actually talk about often, is this idea that, you know, the parent can't also say, you know what, I don't really care for you right now either, kid, you know, and it's okay. And it's okay for parents to be able to express those feelings as well. Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, and I want young people to be able to say, like, right now, you know, you are not my favorite cup of tea, and that's okay. Yeah. And that's why we have, you know, like Teen Hype aunties. We often say we're the parallel family. And so you can come and bring your young person, and oftentimes I just see the facial expression. I just wave. And then I know, okay, not today. Not today. I love that so much. Yes, not today. So 21 years of Teen Hype, and you were quoted saying that you wanted to bring in new initiatives. You have, you know, a new wave of creative outlets for the kids to support them and whatever they're doing. The kids are changing so much right now. What kinds of things are you all wanting to bring into the organization to help bring in more kids? So I think one of the things that you mentioned about how technology is changing, it's almost strangely become like a competitor, because young people spend so much time on the screens, and that we're constantly trying to pull them out of that. And so we find ourselves challenged to be more innovative than what they can find on Instagram or TikTok, which is a lot more work. Yes. But it's also a wonderful opportunity for young people to develop better social skills, because I think between COVID and screens and all of the things that young people have gotten away from just face-to-face contact. So more opportunities for them to kind of come together, for opportunities to address all the things that are going on with mental health, I think are critical right now. We're definitely going to get into talking a little bit about mental health and what the kids are experiencing right now. You're listening to The Metro on WDET Detroit Public Radio. I'm Tia Graham. And we're talking about the local organization, Teen Hype, which has 21 years of service in the city of Detroit. Our guest is Ambra Redrick. She is the CEO, president of Teen Hype, which is celebrating 21 years of that service here in the city of Detroit. So I do want to talk about the play, one of the plays, because you brought up, you know, most kids find Teen Hype through the plays. So earlier this year, y'all put together a play called Two Detroits. It was about two young Black Detroiters, and it really highlighted their experiences in the city.
So the meaning of Two Detroits is really a testament to the beauty of living in two different worlds, but also the disparities that happen within.
It's a story about dealing with life and how sometimes life gives us things that we don't necessarily ask for, but we have to traverse through in order to grow.
I just wish I had my parents.
My character, her name is Mackenzie. It's just a lot that she has to do, a lot that she has to take care of.
Marcus is somebody who deals with IED, which is intermittent explosive disorder.
Now leave me alone!
But at the core of his character, he is somebody that values city. He values relationship and love.
So Marcus and Mackenzie, they have two different perspectives. Can you talk a little bit about these two characters and how the director came up with them?
So one of our young people who is now an alumni actually was a key person in writing this production. And what we wanted to do after she had many conversations with some of the high school students was to tell the story about what it is like to live in Detroit if you have the resources that you need, and what it is like for some young people who are under-resourced and they may struggle to meet their day-to-day needs, and what it is like to navigate that in Detroit particularly.
Mm-hmm. And what were some of the responses that you heard from the kids, especially after seeing the play? I know that that's something that most, if not all, kids who grew up in the city experience, is having those two parallels or multiple different experiences growing up. But that's just that one thing where you're trying to navigate that in the city. So talk about the responses from the kids.
Lots of young people who I believe resonated with the characters. We worked really hard to make sure that hopefully young people could see themselves on stage. Lots of young people that asked about, is there a part two? Oh, wow. So lots of questions about what happens next. A great appreciation for talking about mental health and all of the challenges that young people are going through, and they wanted to dive deeper into that, which I thought was like really, really interesting. Because we didn't even start off thinking or talking about mental health. We really started off talking about gentrification, and young people were saying that was the important thing that they wanted to talk about. But the more we spoke, the more we started to see like, oh, well, gentrification, really is a public health issue, and all of these things are linked together.
And just like you were saying, the kids, it started with gentrification. It started to talk about these, like you said, the two different worlds that exist in Detroit right now. But then it turned into mental health, and you brought up mental health a little bit earlier. And that's one thing that we hear a lot from as well when we have kids touring the station or maybe out and about and we talk to young people. Mental health is something that is just right in the top of their mind all the time. Can you talk about what you're seeing with the young people? Like you said, you'll see a teen now and just give them a little nod and keep walking because you can see it on their faces. What are they going through?
So I think adolescence is already a time where they're trying to figure out if they're normal. And now we add a whole layer of social media that points to a norm that's really not real. And so they get this opportunity to, or they are inundated really with all of these images that point to kind of this false perception of what it means to be a teenager. And so it just makes them feel like oftentimes like they don't fit. During a time where they're trying to actually fit in and actually be more connected with the world. I think we see more young people that are isolated, young people that often find themselves depressed or they have a lot of anxiety, because I think sometimes young people haven't found the words to ask for the help that they need. Particularly, I think we see it a lot with boys. Yeah.
That's a topic we've been discussing quite a bit. Is this what we've been seeing with our young kids, but especially our young boys right now? They are struggling, and you can see it as you're walking through the streets. You can see it. You can hear it from the teachers and the educators who work with them every single day. So what are ways that you are working with peers, the teens that are mentors themselves to their classmates, about spotting certain things like that and looking for the signs if their peers may be struggling a little bit? How are you telling the teens how to approach their friends or their peers?
So our young people get trained in like the equivalent of mental health first aid. And so they become really like walking billboards for mental health. So they understand the signs, and they are able to actually have conversations. They're creating messaging right now in a campaign around mental health. And really the goal is for them to be able to have that conversation with their young people, with their peers, because what we also know is that most young people are not going to therapy, for whatever reason. Access could be the reason, or just they don't want to. And so oftentimes we need something else. We need an alternative, something that young people can grab right in the moment, and hopefully one of their peers will be that.
Yeah. And right now, as we are talking, clearly young people understand exactly what's going on in the world. They have computers in their pockets. They can find any news story, anything that's happening right now in the world. They know what's happening. So they are aware. In what ways are you talking with the teens and the people around you as well within Teen Hype about the way and the course and the direction of our country today and the future for them? Because I know as a young person, if I were experiencing this type of outlook, I would be a little nervous about my future. So let's talk about what you're saying to the young people about their futures right now.
You know, one of the beautiful things about adolescents is that there's a part of them that really believes that they are immortal. so they're not particularly concerned with us old people and all of the things that we're doing to destroy the world, because it's kind of in their head, they're going to fix it anyway. So there's that. But I think that the other thing about them is that they have hope. Yeah. And that they believe they haven't been tainted. And so they believe that they can be an agent of change. They believe that we can shift this world in a way that we haven't seen before. They are optimistic, really, about what can happen in this world. And I think, adolescents love a challenge.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We talk about the resiliency of young people. And oftentimes when we think about a lot of the charge, the rebellious protests that we'll see throughout history have been led by younger folk. So can we just talk about the role that young people, especially as you're teaching them to be leaders in a society today, and we see the way that the world is going. Let's talk about activism and teaching young people to be activists, if that's something that you all are geared to do at Teen Hype.
Yeah. So I think it starts off with us for young people to begin to learn themselves as an individual. So for them to gain leadership skills, assets, and agency. And then what happens is they figure out like, oh, I have power. I have my own individual power. And what does that mean? And really what our goal is for our young people to look at each other and say, oh, this is what collective power means. And now we can start to ask deeper questions about what kind of changes do we want to make in our community? What kind of wrongs do we want to reverse in our community? And so we spend a lot of time talking about issues and how they want to make change. And they have lots of ideas.
Yes, I bet they do. Gotta love the young people. Well, Ambra Redrick is the co-founder and president of Teen Hype, which celebrated its 21st birthday yesterday. Happy birthday. Ambra, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro, and we will have you back.
Thank you so much.
From the WDET newsroom, President Trump is set to rally supporters today in Macomb County, which backed him all 3 times he ran for the White House. He's scheduled to speak at Macomb Community College. As well, conservatives might prevent Canada's Liberal Party from claiming a majority in the House of Commons. That's because it's flipping 2 Windsor area seats that weren't projected to win. The conservative Tories recorded upset victories in different parts of Windsor, ousting incumbent members of Parliament. Up next, a whistleblower says Elon Musk's Doge illegally tampered with the National Labor Relations Board. We'll hear more about that coming up next. This is the Metro. Stay right there.